Meeting of, started too soon. EDIC meeting of July 13th, 2021. Today we have Tom Balfe, Taylor Hedges, Ruth Pino, and joining us also tonight is Felicia Wells from CADA. I believe I got an email from Jerry Oppenheim, who will come in about 20 minutes from now. The other members will not be here tonight, and myself, Bill Bramhall. This meeting is recorded by video and audio in accordance to the state open meeting law, constituent with the governor's orders to suspend certain provisions of the open meeting law and banning gatherings of more than 10 people. This meeting will be conducted by remote participation. If you're calling in on the phone, or if you can press *9 to request to speak. If you're watching on a computer or device, there is a raise your hand button that you can tap or press to request to speak. Please use either of these options during the communications to be recognized to speak. We have the review of the minutes. Are there any additions, corrections, or comments to those?
I had some trouble logging. I had some trouble with my internet today, so I just kind of got to look at them now, but they look good to me.
Yeah, there's a note. I think Google had an issue with something going on worldwide or statewide somewhere, so it's messing up some stuff.
Internet issues this week, so anyway, better now.
Motion to approve the minutes.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you, Lee. Good job done again. Business park status. I assume it's pretty much status of what we've seen right along, that essential workers are in, but majority is still working from home base to that. And it seems to be running that way to, looks like into September or even later, I don't know.
Yeah, there's no changes on Conlin. I haven't really checked in with anyone at on Blackburn or in Blackburn. So
Most people in Conlin, I mean, they're back at work, right? I mean, that's, or is that?
they never really left. I mean, I think X Power was maybe, well, X Power, that facility is a lot of manufacturing. So they're there, and then you have, there's the little stuff that's in one Conlin. Bunch of different little buildings there, and they were all running. And I mean, part of that's it's some distribution for some other local companies, and those got building companies and stuff, and they were all there. Everything else is going. I talked to Sean at Extreme Truck and Auto, and I mean, his business is just down because no one was using their cars. So, but other than that, he had his staff there, and everyone else was just go go go.
Excellent, okay. Anything on industrial park signage? Is that any activity?
Yeah, so I did. I sent out I kind of sent out the rough stuff we had from Lauren, and then I don't know if you guys did you get the emails from her? She's kind of she's hiking the long trail right now, so she's unavailable, but we don't need her yet. And I heard back from Matt Beach at Applied Materials, and they're all in. Kind of a different story than Peter Leathers had given Tim Wood, because he said, yeah, just go with whatever you want. But Matt said they wanted some involvement into what was going to be said, what the different signs would say, and get some continuity up there. Anchor Seal, they were interested. They said that they wanted to see if the signs would be listed alphabetically for ease of use, and that also puts Anchor Seal on top. Unless Applied Materials wants to go with AMAT. I don't have anyone from Webb or Standard Electric, and being that they're larger, kind of statewide or nationwide organizations, I could check in with someone locally and see if they can give me an answer, but we still don't really have any contact for either of those companies. Ryan and Wood said it wasn't a good time for them because of, I'm guessing they're a little tied up. And then there was no reply from Noah or Custom Seasonings. And then Happy Valley, I heard from Joel, but then he gave me Michael Reardon's contact, but I haven't heard back from Michael. Oh, and Cometeer replied they kind of wanted, they didn't necessarily like the color scheme, but I think, yeah, I mean, they thought it should be more neutral, like blacks and grays and stuff, but I thought the blues we had picked were pretty neutral. But
The thing
we're
about
gonna,
signs I've learned is that it's about visibility.
right.
So it's about who's ever driving or their destination. It's about how your eyes relate to the color.
Oh, right, and
the
certain people could
information.
see things very differently.
That's true.
Yeah, yeah. So, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's enough to drive the money bus on this thing, but I'm gonna keep pushing. I'm gonna, you know, loop Tim in again, and then we'll try to get another round of interest, and then I'll try to get some pricing and see what it would really cost each person. See who's out, so then we know that certain people can't do it. So Ryan would be out, and then
in? Jay is in, right?
who?
Jay, or what
Well, Jay's thing is, I mean, he wants to tie in, but like his part of the industrial park's a separate entity.
right.
I think he was going to kind of piggyback with us and change over some of his signing so it configured, but I don't think we're really working that into. We're not working that into the overall scope of the project.
Okay.
That was going to be kind of his part. He was going to help us with the signs, like he was willing to do the digging and stuff, and then hook us up with contractors to build the actual physical, you know, signs. And then then we have to try to put the rest together with, I'm guessing we'll use Seaside Graphics for the actual like placard parts, and then use Jay's labor to install them.
The last time we talked about this, I think we talked about, how much does the EDIC commit, right? Did we
Right.
talk about that? And I think when do we tell people that? When we get the prices, I would think.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to keep our commitment to the bare minimum.
I agree.
You know, enough to maintain some control of the project, but not so much that it hurts, because I don't think it doesn't really benefit us at all. It just looks, makes things look nicer. That's what I just need to see. If we get a group of people together that really want to do it, and then it falls short because Custom Seasonings, and I would think Happy Valley's they'll pony up, I would think, but like Noah might not, because they don't have anyone back right now. It's got to be hard finding money from, it's got to be just hard to get that money, because it's like requires probably 2 years advance notice on how to, acquire the money and whatnot. So it's a different entity than dealing with a small business. I put a pretty high price tag on stuff. I said it would be, close to $3,000 per sign. So at 20 signs, that's $60,000, and that's the cost of the project. So, I think we'd get, I have to kind of lay it out and see who would, but, Applied Materials would be buying a handful of signs. Hopefully Web and Standard would. Ryan's out. Cometeer would probably be good for one at the beginning and one in the middle, to get them, they need to make 2 turns to get to Cometeer. So that'll be kind of the next round of hitting people up. So I'll just.
Taylor, who did you contact and not hear back from at NOAA? Was it Tom Jameer, or was it?
Give me a second, and I had to switch. My Condolan group was different. Where did I send this all to initially? Yeah, Tom Jameer, Caleb Gilbert.
Yep.
Those 2.
Okay.
2 people at Anchor Seal, Ryan and Wood, Matt Beach at AMAT. Monty. I think I got Monty's right. Monty San 04 at Yahoo.
That's
for
right.
Intershell.
Yep.
But I've been told by a few people that he's not going to give anyone any money for this.
Right. I think that's fair to say.
Joel Favazza, I put in for Happy Valley, but he gave me Michael Reardon's email.
So I need to follow up with Tom Jameer on something else. I will check in with him.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. I mean, and some of this stuff just goes unnoticed because no one, they're not looking for an email. I also did it like too close to the 4th, but I actually got a lot of really quick replies, and I, ping people back over the 4th. So, it's kind of business as usual. So. And does anyone know any ideas like for standard and FW Web? Any ideas? Just go.
So
Maybe just go local.
I would call Spittle's office because they own the building.
Okay.
Not FW Web, but what was the other company?
Standard Electric.
Yeah, they're the one that's in Spittle's building.
Right, and I guess we could ask Spittle. They already have signs there, but maybe Spittle would ask them at the same time.
Well, both Financial is in that building.
Okay. Do you think I could ask Serena. Do you think they'd be interested?
Ask Serena. Ask her, Serena, how you get to. Yes, ask her.
Okay.
Do you have her number?
Yeah. Okay. So she can get me in touch with Standard and Beauport
Yes.
and Spittle.
Well, and Tom owns the building. I mean, he sold the business.
Okay.
I can text you Tom's cell phone number.
Okay.
You want that?
Yeah, sure.
I think I have it.
Who owns Spittle Electric now? Would they have any interest, or they don't really want people up there anyway?
It's a Terramina. No, not a Ter. Is it a Oh my goodness, I can picture his face. He's worked there like since he got out of high school.
Oh, okay.
I know where he lives.
Nick Terramina.
Nick
Terramina.
Terramina. Yeah.
Oh, didn't he I thought he used to own. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'll try to track those people.
All right, excellent.
All right, thank you. That's all I got.
CADA on demand. I have a note from Mike that he sent out earlier today that Gorton's has pledged $1,000, and Felicia, I think, is working with them or is going to contact them about if they want to get a logo placed on the van for that. And also something about possibility looking into second and third shift modes of transportation, I guess, has come up from Gorton's and possibly even the hospital.
Yeah, and Applied did not reach out to me. One of Applied's employees wanted to know if we could start a little earlier so he had a better shot of getting a commuter rail back into Boston. So we're going to look at maybe starting a little earlier for them at least. And if we can accommodate, other people by moving the start time down a little bit, then that makes sense to do.
It's great that you're willing to figure this out. It's not so.
I'm drawing a little halo over your head right now,
Yeah,
Felicia. All right, sorry I can't give it to you in person.
Right.
Have you had anything from XP Power?
No.
It's funny. I was talking to Dean from Seaside Graphics, and he's like, they're cranking up there. They're so busy. Every time he's in there, it just looks like there's more people around, and they're parking all over the street on Condolin. So you would think they have a bunch of people, and I think they're running 2 shifts, and it just seems like. But when I talked to one person about the power issue there, and I somehow got a hold of her, and just to ask her if she wanted to do the National Grid, work with National Grid on the presentation, and I wanted to send her an email from, our contacts at Eversource and National Grid. And she's like, no, I don't really feel like giving you my email address. I'm like, okay. And she was very guarded about like who I was and what I was asking for and what I wanted from her. And I'm like, we're just offering you a couple of services and this and that. I don't want anything from you. We just want to present a couple of opportunities for you. And she wanted nothing to do with it, but she was out of like New Jersey or something. She was very guarded. And I don't know anyone there. And every time I ask, Carl's found some people there, but then they move on. So I can I can try again.
So
I'll try to.
go ahead, Taylor, sorry.
No, go ahead.
So I did talk to Monty Rome at Intershell, and he currently has vans that pick workers up in Lynn or Revere and Chelsea and stuff. And so he was really interested in it, but I think it's, sort of back burner. He was supposed to sort of coordinate with some supervisors and see what they might do. But so I'd be surprised to hear from him, even though it sounds like it could be a workable service. I also communicated with NOAA, and because they're not going back to work really in situ until January, and it's not in their budget, they weren't really interested at the moment, and not interested in looking at it from a community support perspective. So I just asked them to really consider putting it in next year's budget, some level of sponsorship. And we left it at that. And then I also talked with Beauport, and they just felt like they don't have the money to do it right now. But I did confirm at their request, confirm with Felicia that it would be available to visitors, guests, not only employees, but guests of the hotel who could conceivably use it during the hours of operation. So this was something that could be of benefit to the hotel and their concierges making it known that there is this on-demand service. I don't know, Felicia, whether you've seen any uptick from the hotel or not, but they seemed to be interested and thought that this was great. It's another avenue of getting around Gloucester for guests.
Who'd you talk to there, Tom?
I talked to Jeannie Hennessy, but Jeannie also spoke with, as part of their leadership group, who's the guy that you were going to speak with.
Ray is the GM, yeah.
So I spoke with Ray.
Okay.
As well.
Okay.
So, and again, I asked the same thing, is let's do it and let's continue to build awareness and hope it grows, and please consider putting it in next year's budget for sponsorship. So.
Chipping
Okay,
away,
excellent.
people.
And Mike noted too, he's contacting Addison Gilbert Hospital, very interested, I guess, Mary Lou Hardy, and she's taking this up to get it into a budget. They need to discuss it to the VP. Maybe hopefully October, they'll be able to have some final words on that. Anything else on CADA on demand? All right, great.
At this point, so bottom line is we still need to find $4,000 to hit the match.
When do we have that? When do we have to do that, Tom?
Alicia, I don't recall.
Sometime the first year of service. So if we want to aim for December 31st.
We gave you our 5, correct?
Yeah.
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 Did we ever hear back from Jay? Because I reached out to Jay McNiff and Ray Johnston at Beauport at the same time. I never heard back from either. Because Jay had talked about it, right? Being part of for his people. I'll circle back with Jay again.
Okay.
And that'll give me a good reason to talk about the signs too. All right.
All right, great. Tom Balfe had written a great letter for the co-work space. I don't know if, Tom, you've had any comments on that. I think that was a good task to get done.
Yeah, just it was appreciated. So Nate Cahill at Wheelhouse has received money in the past to support his growing business, and he's hopeful. I don't even know how much money he asked for, but hopeful that he can get further money to continue to expand. He's really looking ideally to buy a property downtown for expansion purposes. The pandemic has been good for his business model, as you can sort of imagine. And so his business plan is moving forward quicker than he imagined. And purchasing, my understanding is purchasing a place downtown he would continue to rent the 2 existing spaces on Duncan Street and the old Chamber of Commerce space. This would be in addition to, not in lieu of. And it's interesting, he's very firm as a student of these cooperative workspaces and his experience in Gloucester, as that it really needs to be right downtown. 3 blocks off isn't going to work. It needs to be right smack in the middle of it. So obviously that limits the inventory of available spaces that he's can look at. But
Isn't the Santander building for sale?
yeah, and I know he looked at that, and I can't remember whether it was the price tag or just the space. I
Like
think
$4
it was-
million. I mean,
$4 million bucks. That's a steal.
the
Wow.
current owner paid 3.5 for it which was ridiculous then. But the problem with that building is nothing's been done to it in probably a good 20 years, but it has the parking, that's the key. And it's ideal also for residential. So, I mean, it's big enough, it's gigantic. It's
Right.
gigantic. If somebody, if he partnered with a developer, so somebody else buys it, but then he rents all of the first floor, there's parking in the back. Somebody could do something with residential above.
How many floors is it?
I wanna say last time I was in it, it's at least 2. So there's at least 2 full floors, the Main Street level. That's level at Main Street, but then there's about 7, 9 stairs that come down from the rear parking lot. And then a set of stairs and an elevator that goes to the 2nd floor. I'm trying to remember if there might have been even some loft space. I mean, it's a big footprint, but at that kind of price tag, despite what's happening now, is still out there. Because it's going
Right.
to cost a lot of money to retrofit it.
Oh, right. Unless you're walking in to use it as a bank. And I think their footprints are getting smaller and smaller because
They really are.
everything's online. I mean, you don't want to, I try not to walk into a bank if I can save that step of my life.
Yeah, I agree.
So, all right.
All right, great.
The other
The
thing,
audit is,
oh, sorry, Bill. I was just going to say the other thing to add that it wasn't on the agenda, but I also worked with Chris Bolzan at GMGI and nominated them for a economic impact award from Mass Econ. And so we'll see. It really focused on the expansion of the Biotech Academy to cover biomanufacturing. And even though and sort of tried to make the argument that this is training, it's adding employees, not from the core expansion standpoint, but it's adding 15 people, every time they train a new workforce, adding 15, or actually I think 30 now, to the workforce in the Northeast, in the biotech world or in the biomanufacturing world. So anyways, we'll see what happens with that, but that would be great if they were to win one of these economic impact awards.
excellent, all right.
I don't know if some of you saw it, it's not on the agenda, but there was a Boston Globe link this morning to a 179-page report of all the federal pandemic relief money that went to Massachusetts restaurants. And there's a fair number of them from Gloucester. And some of them are the corporate names, so I'm not sure which ones they are, but it's just fascinating to me.
Where was that link?
I can send it to all of you. I saw it on Facebook, truthfully, but it's in
Right.
was in today's Boston Globe.
I saw the article and I didn't actually read it. What does it give amounts as well?
It gives amounts. It gives amounts and names. Yes.
Yeah, I'd be interested to read that.
Yeah. I mean, there had to have been an application process that they must have found out about somehow.
Yeah, I had friends who applied. They just didn't get it. So
Oh, fascinating.
I think they were basing on kind of the wrong figures. I think they were going to give you whatever your lost gross revenue was instead of maybe your net revenue. So there were some big numbers there, and then you have to prove usage. You have to use it in the next 6 to 12 months or something.
Well, I mean, similar to the PPE loans, it was based on 2019 income.
Right, but at least PPP was based on what you were paying people, and you had to pay it back out.
Oh,
The restaurant one, they're like, oh, hey, you were down 800,000. We'll give you 800,000 bucks. But they weren't down. They were down $800,000 in sales. They weren't down $800,000 in net revenue.
I get it. I get it.
So, and then how are you going to spend that $800,000 now? So, I mean, we'll see what happens. It's just, I hate some of the numbers were huge, and you
Oh.
see some of the fraud with the PPP loans of, the guy out of Beverly going and starting a llama farm in Vermont and giving everyone a bad name on the whole thing, so it'll be interesting. Interesting for years to come, really.
It will be.
For sure.
We'll see.
Well, you
See
can
what
only hope, that good people got the money that they needed and that they're putting it back into their systems.
Right.
Fingers crossed. Well, it was today's Globe.
Okay.
And if
I'll
you
try to
can
find it.
find it, just text me. I'll get the link and send it to you.
Okay.
Excellent. The audit, Ruth and I signed it wasn't a commitment letter, but it was more or less, we accept, the company to do the audit for that. And we also had a draft of the audit supplied to us that I think was in your package that we had. Ruth and I also noted to Jim Gustini.
No, it's Giusti or Guisti. Yeah, I've never
Okay.
said it. I've never said it.
Jim G.
Jim Gusti.
That the audit looked fine on the draft that he had, so he is currently setting that up to release to us as a final audit to that. It was pretty well concise and complete, and no major issues, or there weren't any issues at all, really.
Well, a little pandemic glitch. It was kind of comical, actually. So when pandemic hit, I used to hand deliver the bank statements to Horwitz and Frisch. And pandemic hits, I'm still getting bank statements. I scanned them to her. She was working from home. So I scanned them to her. So there were a few months where I didn't think about the other side. So the other side had, checks that had been drawn or deposits or whatever it might have been. So it wasn't a bad thing. It was totally understandable how that could have happened. So all I had to do is just send those to her, the person doing the audit, just to confirm the numbers. Now I've learned to look on the other side of the bank statements.
Read both sides, right?
Important.
All right, any other comments on the audit or questions? All right, is there any other business to come before the board?
The only thing that I would give quick updates on that I'm involved with is, so one, I believe that the Blue Economy, North Shore Blue Economy report will probably be ready. We've been madly working on the final executive summary, and it's with the sort of graphic design firm. I would hope that it would be done by the end of this month and either available sort of as a soft release, but it's sort of nearing completion. The Municipal Harbor Plan Committee, of which I'm on representing the EDIC, we had one-on-one meetings with the consultants to, express our particular interest or share concerns or issues or whatever. And so I've had mine and certainly represented our interest as an economic development agency in growing the harbor economy. And in my belief that there's opportunities in this emerging blue economy as well as really growing the fishing industry. And then finally, I think I committed to, I hope I did because I've spent some time on it, is really looking at the fundamental EDIC stuff. So one, I've spoken with a person at the state who is sort of their contact on EDICs, who was very nice. She was packing up the EDIC box to move to some new location for their office. And I think the bottom line is, the EDICs are not perceived by the state as, some major economic engine. I mean, I think that, there's a couple of different kinds of EDICs, and, they're just, I mean, our government is not saying this EDIC is a really innovative model and still playing this critical, vital role in building out the Massachusetts economy. I mean, I think it's just, and the other thing that I found and one of my reasons for reaching out was simply what communities have an EDIC? Can you give me a list? Of which she couldn't. But shared some information, and in Googling, I did find a recent strategic plan developed for the Framingham EDIC that I'll send around the document. It contains some useful information. It's clear that there's a real disconnect in Framingham between the EDIC and sort of the city. But I think we're all struggling with this issue of once a project or plan is done, such as build out the industrial parks, build that parking garage, take that brownfield site and put it into action, EDICs generally, it's not clear what their role is unless they were enabled by special legislation that gave them specific and broader authority as a planning agency. So I would say that I'll continue sort of my research and I think at the next meeting present some preliminary findings as to what we might do to move this issue forward.
Well, when you think about the Gloucester EDIC, the industrial parks wouldn't have happened without them. That was huge. If you
Right.
think about Blackburn Industrial Park and the number of jobs up there, the IDIC and Paul Talbot and that city council in that day were all responsible for that good. Cape Ann Industrial Park was later, but that was, there was a long lull. It was a long lull because the city owned the land, and that's how the city thought was the best way. I don't know why, but maybe the legislation that John Cunningham refers to creating EDICs or the powers that they have, because I think there are powers of eminent domain too. But anyway, just
Correct.
wanted to say that, the Gloucester EDIC really accomplished a lot.
No, and I think what my quick read from the strategic plan and talking to this woman is that EDICs have accomplished, and Gloucester is recognized for that. The EDIC, had a major impact on the economic climate of Gloucester by developing Blackburn and some other communities as well. But I think whether it's just changed or now a private developer is just as, if there's a really good opportunity, a private developer is going to make stuff happen rather than necessarily rely on an EDIC. I'm not there yet for understanding what the utility of the EDIC is in some of these other communities going forward. But I'll report back on that. But absolutely, Ruth, you're 100% correct on that. The EDIC made Blackburn happen.
Yeah, and I mean, really, it was the first time Gloucester had diversified to such a significant way. And a lot of that had to do with, I can't remember his name, but the guy who founded Gloucester Engineering. So
Ingvar Tordenberg.
I think so. Sounds right.
Wow, Bill.
Very impressive. But, you know, that was 50 years ago. Okay, now what?
So anyways, put me on the agenda for the next meeting, and hopefully I'll have some reasonably succinct summary of what I found out and or suggestions on how we frame the discussion going forward.
Okay.
So a couple of you have asked me about who and what my field of work could I be thinking about to replace me on the EDIC and to serve that role. So it's taken a while, but I have someone I'm thinking about, and I'm actually going to sit with that person tomorrow and just see. I should have invited her to come to this meeting tonight. I mean, just to observe, and maybe she'll feel more comfortable as she does that next time, but.
Well, they are recorded. She could request through Lee to watch one if she has an evening that she'd like to watch some utterly
5 or 6
energetic
of them.
TV.
Entertainment, yeah.
Yeah.
I was expecting, Ruth, when you said I'm thinking of somebody, I was hoping that all of a sudden there'd be like a little thought bubble that would show up on your image there, and the name would magically appear.
Well, it might not be someone any of you know, but the other thing everyone should understand is this is Bill's last meeting, right, Bill?
Right.
Right.
Yes, that's correct.
So we got to figure out. So is Jill have to replace him, or someone has to step up as?
Well,
Jill through the mayor we get appointed by the mayor for being onto that. But I think Jill can recommend, or we can recommend to the mayor that we have a candidate that we want to put in to the EDIC. Then we go forward to the mayor saying, we'd like to propose Bill Bramhall to be the chairman. He's accepted, you know, that type of thing. And the mayor will appoint that person as the chairperson. And I think that's how it sort of works.
Well, we should figure that out. But it's for someone to run the next meeting. So
Well, Mike's not here, so I mean, I think it's an.
there we go.
Okay.
That's easy.
We've tried this before.
So in the Gloucester Rotary Club, there's actually an ascension process where you go through the chairs, but in a lot of Rotary clubs, you miss a meeting and you're the president for the next year.
I like that.
I'm partly joking, so that does happen in real life.
Good.
Just as I know I have it written down, but Lee, when is the date of the next meeting?
August 10th. If
Second
that's-
Tuesday of the month.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
We set for the 10th. Okay. Thank you all. Been
All
a
right.
pleasure to work with you all.
Yeah.
And best of
Oh, yeah,
luck.
Bill. All
Thanks,
right.
Bill.
All right.
Thanks, Bill. See you around.
Well,
See you. Cheers.
Bill.